Alright folks, today we're going to be setting up a Summer Tech and Gadget Store from scratch using Shopify. Even if summer gadgets aren't your thing, don't worry, you can still follow along and apply these same steps to any kind of store you're building. If you don't have Shopify yet, I've included a link in the description. You can get yourselves a 3-day free trial, and after that, it's just $1 a month for your first 3 months. So with that being said, let's jump in. So once you guys log into your delightful, delectable Shopify dashboard, you're going to find yourself at the home page. Now, it says the home tab, so don't get it confused. Now, we're not going to spend much time or any time in the home tab at all. So what I want you guys to do is make your way to the products tab, because the first thing that I want to do is to get the hard stuff out of the way. That's how I function. So I'm going to make you guys do the hard stuff. Now, the reason why I'm going to products is because I want to show you guys how to add products. And then later on, once we're designing our site, we don't have to switch back between dashboards and go over here and add a product there. I don't want to mess up the flow of our creative process, okay? So first off, let's go to products. And then after that, we're going to go to collections. And following that, we're going to head down to the online store tab, familiarize you guys with the online store section, because that's where we're going to be designing our site. But there's a few steps that we need to take beforehand. However, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves right now. Like I mentioned, click on products and then click on add product. Now, first things first, we have our title, so that's easy enough to understand. Down below is the description, so you can either write your own description or use this doodad tool called the generate text. And what you do here is input some keywords. I'll paste the title, and then down here where it says tone, choose which tone you want from these 6, or choose a wild card and use your own tone. Whatever you decide on, after you're done, click on generate. If you're happy with it, keep it. Otherwise, try it again. For this, I'll just keep it. Down below for the media, that is the photo of your item, which some people might say is important. I would say that as well. For the pricing, well, of course, you put the price of your item, and then the compare price is just the discounted cost of that item. For the track quantity, I mean, of course, no brainer. Make sure you have that quantity in check. For the continue selling when out of stock, personally, I would not check this box off if you know you can't restock in an ample amount of time. So otherwise, just uncheck it. Better to lose sales than to lose credibility, right? And then down here we have variants. Now the cool thing about Shopify is right up here we've inputted information. We have the color and the title. And Shopify's AI takes that information and transforms it into category meta fields. And why that's important for us is because we can just use those category meta fields to determine the variants for our product. And this gives the customer a better idea of what this item is all about. Now, you can also add your own if you want. So plus add another option, go down to create custom option, and then you can have your own material. Say it's a limited edition book. You can input that information. You get the idea. And after that, you click on done. But in this case, I'll just use the category meta fields to get my point across. And that's pretty much all you need to know about the products and adding information to your product listing. But there's one more thing I want to address. So in a moment, I'm going to show you guys how to make collections. Now, I'm going to reference this right here. So right now we have a homepage collection. When we make our own collections, they're going to fall under this section. Now, what we can do when we're adding future items is we can just go here and immediately assign it to those collections. When I go to the collection page and show you how to add items to that collection from that tab, you'll see something called tabs. And it's not personally tags. Did I say tabs or tags? Regardless. And it serves the same function as collections. It's just that you'd be assigning a value to products of the same category. So for example, I had waterproof Bluetooth speakers, and I would call that tag speakers or Bluetooth speakers. So it serves the same function. It's just a little more convoluted for no reason. So when I'm referencing this, when I talk about collections, just know that is what I'm mentioning. And at the end, when you're done editing your product page, just make sure to save. Now I'm going to add the rest of my products, and then we'll talk about collections. All right, so now let's go down to collections and create a collection. So this time we won't add a description because it's not really necessary, but we will of course add a title. On the right hand side, we have our image, which is simply the thumbnail for this collection. Now the collection types are what I really want to talk about. So with the manual type, you can just browse for your item. So for example, we're going with Bluetooth speakers. So speaker, 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 there should be 5, and then speaker right here. Once you're done, click add, and it will be assigned to this collection. However, if you go with the smart route, which is the way that I don't really like, you have a tag and you can create not a variance, but a variable. It's kind of like a coding thing. So you have a variable, and then this variable is equal to this particular title. So let's say we had speakers, and then all of our speakers would go into here. However, we have to assign it ourselves. So it's not like, if we input the title, if we input the product's name and then it immediately assigns it to the collection. No, you have to do the legwork to add it to that collection anyways. So it doesn't really improve your quality of life, so to speak. So let's not do that. Let's just do it the other way. When you're adding your products, just go to the product page, right-hand side, pick a collection and add it like that. Much easier. It saves you, a headache. But yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. Once you're done, just click on save. Now I'm just going to add an image over here, and then we'll go down to the content tab. All right, so those are my 3 collections. What we're going to do is, like I mentioned, go down to content, and we're going to add these collections to our menu. So let's head down here, click on menus. Now we'll have 2 menus, the main and footer menu. The footer menu, I have a different process for what I want to add there. That's where I want to include my policies. So we're going to do a 2-for-1 or 3-for-1, I guess, in this case, on how to add policies to your footer menu. So first off, let's go to main menu. Now, all you have to do is click on add menu item, go over to this search or paste link bar, and then head over to collections. And all you simply do is click on the collection you want, and then repeat that process. Now I'll do this just live because there's no reason to cut it off. And there's also another thing I want to show you, because what you can do basically with this, which is pretty neat, and you can do this with your sections on the Shopify store, which I'll show you. I'm trying to mix words there. So what we can do here is we can grab these 6 dots and then rearrange our menu as such. Now we have home, catalog, chargers. Now what I want is the speakers to be 3rd. And then chargers, smart cooling gadgets. That's fine. So that's all I wanted to show you. You can add stuff, and then you can rearrange your menus as you like. As for the footer menu, let's make a detour down to settings right here. And then I want you guys to go down to the bottom of the page where it says policies. So with all of your policies, you naturally have to write your own. But the great thing about Shopify is that I believe 4 out of the 6 policies have a template that you can use. And then you just follow the template and input your own information. Now, you can repeat this process for, I believe, all of them, but the shipping and legal notice so legal notice and shipping policy, you have to do that all on your own. But again, either way, you would have to input your own information. But yes, at least you have a template for 4 of them. For the other 2, you can find it somewhere else online. Now, once you're done with this, go back to the footer menu. So much like what we did with our main menu, we go to the footer menu and click on add menu item, go to search or paste link, find the policies, which are at the bottom right here, and simply add all of them until you're done. All right, so now we can get into actually working on our store. So for that, let's make our way down to the online store tab. And here you will find the theme editor. However, before we get into that, let's make our way down to the bottom of the page and click on Visit Theme Store. Now, I'm going to be using the default theme that comes with Shopify just so we're on the same page. But if you guys want to use a different theme, that's fine. You can still follow along. Now, what you have here are all your themes, of course, but you can filter them on the left-hand side from the price, the industry, catalog size, and a couple of more things over here. Now, I'm just going to show you guys how you can take advantage of these themes without actually having to permanently use them or publish them. So let's check out our free themes. Now, let's say we want to try out we're going to try the scents in this case. So before you try it out, you can view a demo store to see what this looks like in a practical setting. So you can, click on all the buttons, check out the items, see how the description looks, the product pages, and so on and so forth. So it gives you a really thorough idea of what it's going to look like once you choose to use it, if you choose to use it. Now, if you do decide to go along with it, you can go to the top right, click on Try Theme, at which point it's going to download this theme to your dashboard. Once it does download, you guys are going to have to pay a $50 fee simply because I'm just kidding. No. So you can find your themes under the theme library. If you just want to try it out without publishing, click on Customize, and then you can go to the editor where you can add all sorts of information. Now your products are already updated right here, you'll see. So that's nice. And then we have those menu items, as well as at the bottom, you'll find policies in the footer. There we go. That sounds better. So yeah, you can edit this, try new things, add sections, so on and so forth, without it actually being a published store. And if you do decide to publish it, you can publish it in the top right. But if you don't want to go with this particular theme, or whatever theme you go with, go back to the dashboard, click on these three dots, make your way down to remove, and at that point, it's out of your dashboard. So what we are going to do, like I said, is use the DOM theme. So just so I can have a little easier access to my dashboard, I already mentioned it like 5 seconds ago, but I want you guys to right click, customize, and open this link in a new tab, just so we don't have to, go back every single time. This makes it a lot more convenient for us. Okay, so once we arrive on the next page, you basically turn off your computer. All right, that's easy. The site will work on its own and make you a website. I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm kidding. So what we have here is the Shopify editor, right? So on the left-hand side, we have the structure of the store. So we have the header, which is at the top. Most heads are at the top because your head is at, yeah, we're good. And then we have the template in the middle, which is where we're going to have 95.733 of our content. I did the math, actually. That's right. Don't even bother to second guess. And then at the bottom, we have our footer, because feet are at the bottom. It's just simple anatomy, right? Anatomy. So you guys get that? You like my little analogy? So again, our header is at the top, footer is at the bottom. All the information we just added in regards to the menus has been updated, as well as our products. So next thing I want to talk about is in the top right. You can see what your site looks like on different devices, 2 devices that is. So desktop, which is where I'm going to be spending 99.9999% of my time editing. And then you can see your site in the mobile view. The great thing about Shopify is that once you make changes on the desktop version of the site, it will immediately adapt for the mobile format layout of your site, whatever you want to call it. So I'm not going to be spending any time in the mobile version because it's not necessary. And then you can check out what your site looks like full screen without any of the tools on the left hand side. And this is going to give you a better idea of what your site looks like to the customer. However, it's not the ultimate version of your site. So to see what the site would look like 100% from your customer's perspective, go to these 3 dots up here and view. And this gives you a better idea of what it's going to look like to any customers that visit your delightful store. All right, so that is that. I covered those 3 bits. Now, how about we start editing things? So the first thing I'm going to change is the image banner here. So to do so, click on it and then go to the image one. You can add 2, but we'll add 1 in this case. I just had a voice crack. Oh my God, how embarrassing. Now from here, you choose which photo you want. So let's see which one works the best. So we'll try that one, and it doesn't look too shabby. Now, I want to make this image a bit smaller and see if we can make it work. Unfortunately, we can crop photos in Shopify, but we can't generally move the photo to fit the parameters of the section. So what we'll try to do here is look at the height. So we have the height. Let's see how small looks. So small doesn't look too bad. I like the way that it gives off the impression that people are traveling, which is the idea here. It's a tech gadget shop for people who are traveling. So this doesn't look too bad. So we'll keep that. As for the animation, I'm going to put on some ambient movement because it looks a little more interesting rather than a static image, right? That kind of sucks. And then if we go to look at it from full screen, it doesn't look too bad. However, the thing about this is that I do want this text to be a little higher, so up on the page, in the middle of the page. So for that, we go down to content position. It's in bottom center right now. Let's see how it looks like in middle center. Go to full screen, and that looks a little better, a lot better actually. So that's great. Now, as for changing the title here, all we have to do is click on the box, and then over here we can just change the text that we want. Now, as for the button, we can do the same thing. So we just click on it, and then we can change the text up here. Or if you want a second button, all you do is start writing a different label, and then it's going to show up with a second button. As for the links, so I'll explain this right off the bat. So right now, this is linked to our entire catalog, and if we click it, it's going to take us to the entire catalog, all the products that we just added, right? However, if you want to link a button to something else, all you do is link, and the process is very similar, almost exactly the same as what we did when we were adding menu items. We just find the location on our site, such as products, for example, and we click on one of these products, and then that's going to assign that product to this button. So it's easy enough. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this text here, and then I'll talk about the font settings as well as the colors, and we're going to get to changing our header, add a logo and rearrange our header a little more than it already is. So to change our logo, we got to go to the theme settings right here, click on logo. We select our library, just like what we did with our image banner. Select the image we want, go down to done. Now, in this tab, we can't really do much aside from change the width of the logo. What I want to do in this case is I want to change the position of the logo. So for that, let's click on the header. On the right-hand side, it'll say logo position. So go here. Now, any of these are fine, but personally, I like middle center. Or not middle center, which one? Top center. There we go. Top center. Now, I don't enjoy that there's so much space at the top here. So what we'll do for that is we're going to go down where it says top. So it says padding and top. So the padding is basically the space between the edges, the borders, right? So we're going to make this a bit smaller. I'll just go down to 0. That looks better. And there we go. So we changed the position of our logo as well as, well, add it. So now you see that the menu itself has gone below the logo. So that's fantastic. Next up, let's go to the theme settings again, and we have our colors. So when it comes to colors, you really don't need to come to this tab very often, and I'll show you why in a moment. But basically what you can do with your schemes is click on it, and then you can click on one of these tags and change the color from here, okay? Now, when you do that, you can click on a section, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. You click on a section, so let's go down here, featured products, and then you head down to where it says, where are the colors? There we go, the color scheme. So where it says color scheme, you can choose any of the color schemes that you made. However, you're not strictly limited to going to theme settings and changing your color palette that way. You can change it from the right hand side on the go. Just click on edit, and then you can change the composition from here. Now, I'm not going to change the colors on my site until the end once I've added all of my content, because that's what I've always done. So I'll just stick to that. So that is how you add colors. When it comes to colors and sections, some sections have 2 options, others have 1. So you saw 1 for the featured products. If we go to the menu, you'll see that we have 2. So we have the color scheme, and then we have the menu color scheme. The menu color scheme is just the colors for the menu itself. Now the color scheme here is just for everything. So for the whole container, that's going to change the colors. So let me just choose a different one. So you'll see how that's changed the background there. But we'll leave it as is for now. And then lastly, from our theme settings, we have typography. So the typography is basically the font on your site. Okay, so here we have 2 fonts. We have headings and body. Now on your theme, it might look a little different. You might have some extra options for the fonts, but generally you will always have the headings and body font. Everything outside of that is pure, just for fun. It's an added font that you can use. So for the heading font, it's pretty easy to find it. Here's the heading fonts. This is heading fonts. And then anything below that, such as buttons and the price, that is body fonts. So the description you have for your items, that is not part of the font. Now, what we have here, I'll just choose any font. I'll choose actually April Fatface because that gives you the best idea of what it looks like. It's the most noticeable difference. And you'll see right here how the title changed, the heading font changed, as well as this font right here. Now, keep in mind,